Alrighty, guys, we'll make a bit of a start. First of all, we'll welcome Craig Duncan, who is our guest speaker for today's webinar. So Craig, did you want to take over and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, what I'll do is I'll just get straight into it, if that's okay. Yeah. All right. So I'll just share my screen here and let's get underway. Anyway, thanks everyone for being here. I know it's a Tuesday and it's lunchtime, so it's not always an easy time for you. And thank you very much for having me. And it's great that you're all involved with such a progressive organization that seems to be really going places. So that's great. And I remember I was just thinking about it. It was probably 25 years ago that I was involved in personal training, and I remember it clearly. Of getting up early, and I think there was times where I'd be doing 4 or 5K runs in a day with different clients. So I remember it clearly, and I remember it very, very, very fondly. What I want to do today is I'm going to talk about how I see the future of the fitness industry, where we're at, where we could go to, and some things just for you to think about. Also, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat at this stage, but I'm going to leave a lot of time for Q&A because I really appreciate that. And I think it gives you an opportunity to express your feelings and ask any questions that I might be able to help with. So I'll get straight away onto it. Just a little bit of my origin story. Like I said, I think I did start out personal training and working in fitness centers many years ago when I did my undergraduate degree, and I enjoyed that immensely. And I think it enhanced my ability to program at all levels for a variety of clients, and just to really understand people and the issues associated with getting them to exercise regularly. My career went on into the strength and conditioning field and then the sports science. So I did my undergraduate degree in human movement science and then my master's in that area, and then eventually did a PhD in sports science. And so that's taken me to quite a long career now, because I'm getting a little bit older. So in professional sport, and the major sport that I focus on and have been involved in is soccer or football. And I've worked across probably 5 continents now with over 5 national federations, national teams, professional teams all around the world. So it's been quite an exciting journey. But from that success that we've had in football, we've also worked in rugby league and basketball and other sports as well. So I have a company, Performance Intelligence Agency, and we consult in the professional sport field, but also supply staff, sports scientists, physiotherapists, medical doctors, all that to teams around the world. I suppose I might be best known in this country because I was head of sports science for the Australian Soccer Federation for 4 years, up until the last World Cup in 2018. So I worked with the Socceroos and the Matildas, but then worked with Iran, Colombia as well, and just about to head off overseas with another nation to do some work with them. So that's my background. But in saying that, I have a university position at the Australian Catholic University where I'm a senior lecturer. And many years ago, I also worked at TAFE. So I'm quite familiar with the certificate 3, 4 in fitness and all that sort of area. So I just want to look at the area of, I suppose, a lot of the clients that you're working with. So the basics when we start this whole exercise thing is that humans are all unique. I think this is key for us, that there's 7.5 billion of us on this planet. And so this uniqueness is often not understood that well. And we tend to, in exercise, often have a one-size-fits-all model, or we get caught up in thinking this program worked for client X, it's going to work for this client as well. The other important point, and this is hard sometimes for us to understand, but the vast majority of people don't like exercise. They really don't like it. And that's why there's far more people that don't exercise, and we're actually more than likely in the minority. So one of the issues about this is that we come from a background of really loving exercise, and our clients don't. We've got some other factors to consider. Exercise adherence is very poor, and you might notice this with your clients and people that you worked with, even though we do know that personal training is one way to enhance adherence, and that's why a lot of times clients have us. However, in general population, adherence is very low. And so people have multiple attempts at starting a regular exercise program. And more than likely, they fail on multiple occasions. And it seems though in most fitness centers, the average life expectancy of someone coming regularly to a gym is probably only a few months. And I remember this many years ago and looking at people come to the gym, that they get quite excited and they'd start off quite well. But after time, they really just didn't progress and didn't stay. And that's one big factor for us to consider as an industry. There's actually been minimal market growth. It's only around 1% in the last 6 years. So there's pretty much no growth, even though the population has grown and we know that there's more people with adverse health conditions. So minimal market growth, that's a key factor. And then there's multiple sources of competition. You would know that in where you're working now, that there's options for people and there's competitors. There's actual fact, there's over, I think the market cap of training or personal training is about 453 million, and there's over 8,000 registered businesses. So even if we extrapolate that out, that's about an average of $55,000 per person, okay, or per business. And there's a lot doing vastly less than that. And there's probably some doing more than that, but it's quite a low market growth, and it shouldn't be, because everyone can benefit from this beautiful thing that we have called exercise. And one of the most important things that we need to recognize here is ego. I actually wrote a paper many years ago about who killed the fitness industry. And I wrote a narrative about it like it was a murder mystery. And the person that I identified that killed the fitness industry was us, the actual fitness trainers. And the reason I say that is because of ego. This can make or break your service. And it gets back to this fundamental thing that we're in the minority, that only 10% really exercise regularly, and that there's 90% of the population that don't. So we need to foster this relationship with exercise and understand and be empathetic to the fact that so many people really don't really want to do it. I find it always amazing that in the Western world, I think everyone would know that exercise is one of the best forms of medicine. But still to this day, more people smoke cigarettes than exercise on a regular basis. So think about that. We can't even advertise smoking anymore. We know smoking will kill us. We know exercise will make us live longer and healthier, but we can't get that many people to exercise. So it's important that we really understand that. So ego is the enemy for all of us. It doesn't matter who it is. We need to always keep that in check and understand the people that we're actually working with. Some of the facts is, I found this quite interesting, 70% of the population exercises only 7.14 minutes per day. Now, where I got that statistic from, it was actually identifying that Australia was quite an active nation, because Australians did approximately 70% of the population did 100 minutes each fortnight of exercise. But when you bring that back down to that 7.14 minutes a day, now that's great that they're doing something, but it's not really going to be enough. It's a good start, but to benefit these people long term. So 30% of the population exercise less than 5 minutes every day. So these are incredible statistics. Now, sometimes we look at this in the fitness industry and go, well, people are just lazy. No, that's what we might believe, but that's not going to get us where we want to get to. The fact is, if we continue to think like we've always thought, we're going to continue to get pretty much zero market growth. We're not going to expand the population that can exercise regularly. Because let's all remember, there's no doubt that exercise is going to benefit people. And the why is, I mean, we've known this forever. I mean, Socrates, one of my favorite philosophers, said many, many years ago, for in everything that we do, the body is useful. And in all uses of the body, it is of great importance to be in as high a state of physical fitness as possible. So the philosophers, the ancient philosophers, in their wisdom, were all actually had the understanding and the belief that a healthy mind was related to a healthy body. And a lot of them were really quite good athletes as such. So Aristotle was a wonderful wrestler. Plato was also an athlete as well. So for many, many years, far beyond this creation of a fitness industry, we've known that exercise is important, and it was fundamental. In actual fact, back in these ancient times, it was absolutely fundamental to their belief that all these philosophers that you might have read about, exercise was an integral part of their life, and they thought both worked in hand together. So it was not possible to have a healthy mind without a healthy body. So nothing has really changed. So the problem is, well, we've got preventable diseases. They're incredibly on the rise. Okay, and we know exercise has a strong relationship with the prevention of such diseases. It can have a hand in helping the situation such as diabetes, all the consequences and diseases associated with obesity. Certain forms of cancer as well have been shown to be enhanced by exercise or help prevented by exercise. We also know that there's an increase in mental health issues, but there is no doubt that exercise is one of the best forms of help for actual mental health. In actual fact, some people have referred to it as nature's Prozac. So it's outstanding in helping this situation, but we do have a problem. And unfortunately, our governments are sometimes, they're sort of focused on cures, which is like building hospitals or treating the issue rather than actually spending a lot of money on preventing this. So we could be much better off if we worked on prevention. And exercise is a very viable mode of helping to prevent these diseases. Our health costs are soaring. You know, we have incredible health costs now. You can see that private health is increasing in price. We're very lucky in this country to have a state or a nationwide medical service such as Medicare, but the costs are soaring, and it's an enormous budget strain for governments. And again, I get back to the fact humans are mostly inactive. And we've done really nothing to change that. So I think the major issue here is the disconnect between the industry and the potential client. So just think about that for a moment. And I know you guys are a little bit different because you're actually doing something that I believe in. You're taking the exercise often out of the gyms and putting it into more different environments that might be more suitable for much of the population. So you're attracting a client that maybe might not be attracted to in a lot of other circumstances. Recently, I was at a gym, and I just looked at this gym and I just thought to myself, wow, it's quite it could be a very uncomfortable environment for people. And not that I've got anything against gyms, I'm not saying that, but if I just look at the environment, mainly male dominated, yeah, and if you really step back and look at it from a person that might be elderly, might be not accustomed to gyms, might be a young guy that wants to put on some muscle, but feels a little bit self-conscious in that environment, they're sometimes not that inviting. And then we look at the instructors. Now, is there a disconnect between the instructors and the client? Because in very much this day of social media and fitness influencers, and again, I don't have anything against the fitness influencers or someone being in good shape, but is that what we want to portray as the outcome that we're looking for? So then we sort of get this disconnect. So I often have found some of the best trainers to be people that have also gone on a journey, okay, from not being athletically gifted, have got into exercise themselves, and then they're more empathetic to the people that we actually need to get involved. So this disconnect is something that we really need to work on, and I'll keep talking about it. As much as it might be hard for some of you to believe, exercise isn't liked by most people, and they don't want to do it. And that's what we have to sort of try and work on. I think the solution is absolutely all about service. It's all about service. It's about taking a service-orientated approach to every client that you meet. And once we get this right, and I know in your organization that this is probably a major part of what you're spoken about, but it is really about this service. I can't tell you enough that the technical aspects in respect to the program and everything like that, I mean, that's fundamental. Okay, that is absolutely fundamental. However, that's not the most important thing. The best program is the one that gets a person to do exercise for the rest of their life. That is the best program. That is your success criteria. Now, yes, we portray people losing weight and getting fitter and all that. And yes, that's important. But what we know is if someone is going to start an exercise program now and they're going to exercise for the rest of their life, then we've got a massive win. If they're going to exercise regularly for the rest of their life, then we've got a massive win. End of story. So that needs to be your success criteria. So when I look at exercise programs, I look, okay, is it fundamentally safe? Is it evidence-based? I mean, when I'm talking about evidence-based, I mean, has there been research about the program that they're doing? Evidence is not that someone is just doing it on YouTube and you think it's going to work. No, has it actually got a research component to it? But the big one I look at too, is this tailored for that individual, and are they likely to do it on a regular basis? And as a personal trainer, you can sometimes ask yourself the question, okay, are they going to do it when I'm not with them? Because most of the time you might be seeing people, it might be, they might see you once a week, they might see you 2 times a week, or some might see you 3 times a week, I'm not sure. But really we want to get people embracing exercise so that they are actually active, 5 to 6 times a week. But we've got to start small and build it up. So that all comes with service. So that has to be fundamental, the major point. The other thing that I've found over the years that's really missing with people is empathy. Really, and what is empathy? I mean, the most basic way I can say it is that, you get in someone else's shoes, you can really believe that you are that person. So if you're a trainer and you've got someone in front of you and they haven't exercised for a long period of time, what are they feeling? Well, they're feeling insecure about starting something. They might have failed at an exercise program before. And one of the first things that I ask people is, okay, well, why did you fail? What was the main reason? Okay, you're starting an exercise program now, but what's different for you? Because if we don't ask those questions, okay, we're just going to prescribe something and they're going to fail again. See, often I see programs are actually more written by the instructor for the instructor rather than the client, okay, because they're not really associating what this client is about and the individual status of this client. So empathy, all parts of life is vital, but particularly with what you're doing. If you can get in their shoes and see, okay, this has been hard, this is a big effort for someone to even come and get here, then you're going to be much better off. And so that's a big thing that needs to really improve. We need a holistic approach as well. And that means that, I mean, if we look at what does holistic mean, I mean, there's all parts of the human. There's mind, body, soul, but you've got other aspects. You know, you've got work, you've got life balance, you've got all these things going on. And how is exercise going to fit into that? Again, you can write the most perfect evidence-based, safe exercise program that doesn't fit into someone's life. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've seen a program written where the client has actually said, I've got 45 minutes 3 times a week, and I look at the program and it will take an hour and a half for them to do. But that is just not listening. It's just not really consuming what the person is telling you. And, you know, in those initial consultations, when you see someone, it's really important that you actually do listen and draw out the required information, because you know what? People are going to tell you what you want to hear. They're just going to tell you. And if you're speaking a lot, they're just going to say, yes, 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 I'll do it. But really, in the back of their mind going, there's no way I'm going to fit this in, but I'm going to upset the trainer. I'm going to tell them what they want to hear. Trust me, it happens all the time. And then that's why people drop off and adherence is very low. So holistic programs, there's so much involved in it. You know, you've got these things. Now, it's not that you become a psychologist and you can work with the mind, or you start talking about nutrition if you don't have training in that area, or all these areas. You stay in your lane. But what we like to do at PIA is we have a network of specialists and that we work with. So we take a holistic approach to human performance, and that's just about surrounding yourself. And it might be even in your organization with other trainers that they might specialize in a certain area, and you can get advice. And we, at the end of the day, just want to make the best outcome for the client. So if I have a look at this is really what performance is, how I see performance. It's a relationship between the capacity, all these areas. Okay, so you build up that, and that could be fitness as well. But then all this noise on the other side of the equation is what brings people down. So if we look at this, I've spent my entire career in sports science managing this noise. It's easy. Building someone's fitness, it is absolutely easy. It's not hard to do at all, because you know if you do X, Y, and Z and you follow some evidence that you will get an increase in capacity. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's in the workplace. If you train someone well, they'll get better at their work. If it's you're training them in exercise, that they will get fitter. There's no problem. But it's this noise that could stop the advantages you've made over this side of the equation make a difference. So in actual fact, a lot of the time we get no real net gain in performance. So it could be that you're getting them fitter, but what's happening over here, their diet might be all out of whack. That's a very simple analogy. But often what we find is that, you know, this noise could be poor sleep, all these sort of things. If we don't work on those foundational things and the noise rises, then it doesn't matter what we do with capacity. Overall, we won't get a gain in performance. So this is the equation that we basically work off in all the clientele that we work with. And this is the area. See, at the moment, the fitness industry concentrates on this. It concentrates on building capacity. But just by managing the noise, okay, working on some of these areas, then we will get a greater overall gain in human performance. So my belief is that we need to actually change the name from the fitness industry to the human performance industry. And this is something that I quite push. And I think it makes, what will happen with this is that if we can do this, we will create more clientele for our people, for yourself, but we'll also engage it, rather than at the moment, we've got the fitness industry, we've got EPs doing their thing as well in that clinical sort of setting. We've got the sport people that want to do sport science and work with elite teams. We've got people that work with the military, people that work in corporate health. We've got multiple areas, but at the end of the day, it's all human performance. So I think this concept of fitness industry, I think, has probably done its dash. I think it's time for a name change. There's a lot of negative connotations associated with that industry, and very much there's quite a push to start this concept of the human performance industry. In my framework, we talk about human performance instructors, human performance coaches, human performance scientists, and human performance strategists. And this is depending on what qualifications that you have. A certificate 3, 4 in fitness could be down here, but this idea as a human performance coach, I don't think we really understand in this country how huge coaching is around the world. Human performance scientist, I prefer that term than a sports scientist or an exercise scientist, because it's more holistic. Okay, and then a human performance strategist that is someone that has advanced qualifications across a number of fields. One of the things I did, I found, after I did my doctorate in sport and exercise science, was I then went and studied psychology, because I thought, well, it's very hard to differentiate between, physiology and psychology. In actual fact, psychology used to, 100 years ago, be in the physiology domain, and I had a real interest in psychology. And in these sort of frameworks that we're looking at now, there's a much more bigger component of that physiology and psychology at all levels. It just advances as we go. And this is all based on this self-science approach.
Hi, I'm Dr. Craig Duncan. I'm a human performance strategist. This series of videos is all focused on self-science and maximizing your potential. Self-science is the study of you by you. And it's a philosophy based on the concept of self-awareness and how important that is. See, we spend so much time studying other things. How much time have you spent actually studying you? You spend just way too much time worrying about other people and telling them about themselves, rather than focusing on, okay, what's right for us. So we fail so much in life because what we're trying to do is not related to who we are. We're 1 in 7.5 billion people on this planet. We're unique. So what works for one doesn't necessarily work for another. So that's what self-science is about. Knowing you, studying you, trialing things. Is it working? Is it not working? And then changing it. So ultimately you can say at the end of life, I lived a good life and I got the most out of myself possible.
Okay, I mean, that is my philosophy that I work from, self-science, and I actually wrote a book called Self-Science, and it's really about exactly what I said there: studying yourself, you as a human. I'm talking about all humans, but also encouraging your clients to do that as well, so that they understanding of themselves. There's so much information out there today that we can do that. We want to see people coming to us that are involved in their exercise program, rather than the expert sitting there just writing this program. We want their involvement in them. We've got to draw them in that. We've got to get them involved in these programs. Once we get that happening, then we're going to get greater adherence, because people are taking part. People want to have some autonomy. So often there's the thing with personal training is we want to keep these people close and we want to be the person with all the knowledge. No, we want to actually give knowledge. That's the process we need to look at. That's going to make the world a better place if we can take our knowledge, give it to them. And so that you have programs where, yes, they are with you for an extensive period of time, but when they're not with you, they're actually becoming very good at understanding their processes as well. So these are all things that are very important. one of the big parts of self-science is this concept of monitoring, and something that I'm going to leave you, with today as I finish up this presentation. This is central to the work we do at PAA. And human performance monitoring, I'll just go through this infographic with you. It's a systematic process of collecting, analyzing, and using information to track a person's progress towards maximizing their potential and to guide decisions. Right at this moment in our system, we'd have 1,000 athletes around the world that are plugging in data every day, okay, that we receive data on them, and we identify exactly where they are in respect to their optimal performance zone. So why do we do this? And we've started doing this with the entire population. So whether it's personal trainers doing it with their clients, whether it's us doing it with workers in the workplace, whether it's in the military and looking at pilots that are working in the military and tracking where they are in respect to their sleep and all that sort of stuff. That's where we're progressing it to. So the why is, are you tired, stressed, and not making the most of your potential? HPM will give you the insight you require to perform to your maximum on a daily basis. So our HPM system will make sure the noise doesn't silence your capacity. And it gets back to this. It's about monitoring all this area to make sure that this net gain human performance. So HPM helps determine exactly when a person is on track and when changes may be needed. HPM forms the basis of modification of lifestyle and assessing quality of activities being conducted. HPM helps with identifying the most valuable and efficient use of your time. Our goal is to improve current and future management of a person's outputs, outcomes, and impact. It's imperative. Like I believe, like if you look at a physiotherapist sees a client and they give them exercise and then has no contact with them until they come in again. That's not service. I remember when I went right back to the start, it's all about service. I remember me as a personal trainer, I'd see someone, okay, I'd see them on a Tuesday and I wasn't seeing them to the Friday. I had no contact with them in that period of time. Now, yes, we could text message and all that sort of stuff, but are we getting information to see if they're on track and we nudge them in the right direction? So basically the process is on a daily basis, is a collection of data, and it doesn't, and this can be at all levels. It can be extensive or it can be minimal. It depends on your client, as again, we are all unique. The data is analyzed to identify daily performance index. So we have some basic algorithms. The data is reported on a dashboard, so a person, and then the insight, informed decisions about a person's status are made. So even when you're seeing a person as a client, you might have a high intensity session organized for them, but do you know what physiological and psychological state they are in? As a good trainer, you probably ask them how they're going, if they've got any injuries or anything like that. But this takes the guesswork out of it. And monitoring will absolutely maximize your potential. And it's, I believe, something that will make your business much better because it's ultimately all about service. So, all the clients that we have, they're all on this system. So I know exactly where they are. So we have I have a real interest in leadership. So I have a number of founders or entrepreneurs that are on our system, that their data goes into our system daily, and then I can act on that from a coaching perspective to identify whether they're in their optimal performance zone or not. Because if you're not, then you might be making decisions that are a little bit off the track. Okay, so it's about being aware of that. And you can monitor anything, but the key things for me are, really monitoring someone's sleep, working on that, monitoring them from a psychological perspective, and also looking at some heart rate sort of variables, or I like to look at heart rate variability on a daily basis just to see where that is objectively, but then also subjectively asking people, how are they feeling? How are they feeling psychologically? What's going on? And then it's giving this holistic service-orientated approach. We've and not that I'm here to sell anything or anything like that, but in actual fact, our app that we do this with is called Socrates, and it's all about this concept of, people becoming and taking charge of themselves by seeing their own data. You going through the data with them, but it's keeping in tune with your client at all times. I mean, I really believe monitoring is the key to service. And you could start off with the most basic form of monitoring, and you might be doing it now, but I know in most situations it's not happening, or people don't pay real attention to it. But, I've got over 25 years of experience in probably the highest level of performance in, professional sport, and, situations where like there's been millions of dollars on the line if teams perform or don't perform, extensive travel and all that sort of stuff, and keeping in tune with your athletes so they're in their optimal performance zone. It's no different with anyone that comes to you on a daily basis. Where are they? Why aren't they? And then you can pick up issues. Definitely you can prevent injury, but you can also pick up issues if you start to see people dropping off, if their adherence drops off, and all these sort of areas. Anyway, I think it's an exciting time, because you can see we've had 6 years of pretty much flat market growth. Not more people are exercising. We haven't really changed too much, but how exciting, because we've got this beautiful thing of exercise. We know personal training is so valuable because people get that sort of attention. I think it just needs a rebrand, and we can really start to make a difference. And I applaud you guys for being involved in this, because it's a wonderful life, because you are actually making people's lives better. And if that's at the forefront of your mind, you always will be successful. So having that empathy and understanding that you're there to service and to make people's lives better, and it's fantastic if you can do that. We're going to go to questions, but please take down my contact details. Send me an email anytime. I'm best, through email. If you said, "Oh, you heard me present," I'm always happy to get back to you. Self-science is we've had a lot of good reviews around it. It's just my philosophy, and it's actually a really good book for clients, because it starts to give them the basics of how they should work through life. But yeah, so that's me. So any questions? I'd love to take them from you.
I have one if you'd like to answer. Yeah, hopefully you can hear me. It's pretty loud outside, so can you
I can. Yeah, I can.
Awesome. On the side of like monitoring and kind of tracking metrics as time goes on, obviously we don't have the best system set up. Like we don't have a full HRV-based system we can potentially track with clients. What are some things that you might like to suggest that we note down or just keep tabs on our clients with in terms of monitoring?
Yeah, definitely. What I would do is just track how many hours sleep they're getting a night. That's what I'd be able to track. In just saying that, what you said, it's actually not incredibly difficult to set up. But even at the highest level. But I always start small. I mean, you could just track exactly what you could ask someone. Okay, how many hours sleep did you get a night? You could have a scale of 1 to 5, rate your sleep. What was your sleep quality like? How are you feeling psychologically? Those sort of things. But definitely, I used to think, I've done a fair bit of work in sleep, but I used to think it was sleep, exercise, and nutrition were the foundations of performance. But now I have sleep as the foundation, and those other exercise and nutrition are probably on the next tier. So I would just start with sleep. And then if they're not with you on a regular basis, you probably want to ask them, okay, how many minutes did you exercise today? And, like an RPE or something like that. What was your RPE? Because that's all free. They don't need anything like that. Or if you even want to simplify it first, I mean, I would always, like, if you're training someone, have their program, take complete control, have them, you write their program out for the entire week, even if they're only seeing you one day. You could ask simply the question, did you do the program today? Yes or no? You know, something like that. And you could, in the first instance, you could set it up as a text message. But that's why, you know, recently we've developed Socrates, is because I wanted to make it available to people, to coaches or trainers to use. So we're working on that, like a model of how that can be used. So you've got that format, because it all keeps it in one place and it's really nice. And also I understand, you know, like you don't want it to break the bank. So there's that sort of stuff. But I can't tell you how much difference it will make to your clients.
So a 3 to 5 question, like a wellness questionnaire, would be probably the best place to start.
Absolutely. And I would have that when they first wake up in the morning. And then what you'd want to report is, okay, how many minutes did you exercise today and what was your RPE? You know, cool. 0 to 10 RPE. Yep.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for Craig?
Sorry, just going off what Seaton just said. Sharon, how you going?
Hey, Sharon, how are you?
Hi, good. I think that's actually quite good. Do you think that should be a weekly thing that we should start off with? Or
yeah, that's a really great question. And I've learned a bit about this because I'm quite fanatical about data, and you know, with athletes, I get it on a daily basis, and but I realize with clients it might be different, because we've done this work in corporate and in general. So we've done now vast populations, and you know, professional athletes, you know, it's part of their, you know, they just have to do it. So other people, you don't want it to become a burden to them, right? So you could just start off with a weekly one, you know, your weekly check-in.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's how we developed Socrates. It's sort of better, because you can sort of nudge them in different ways. So you might start off with going, okay, you want to see a baseline of data for the first few days, like, and you know, you onboard them to do that, and then you might do a weekly recap. It's very flexible, but
okay.
we don't want it to become arduous for them. You know?
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, I had a client yesterday, and it's funny, she just gave me everything and basically was like, I was crying. I'm sick at the moment. I'm feeling like I can't keep up and do more. And just everything was all crumbling all over her. And I was like, not really prepared for that, because she's really quite, you know, upbeat and just loves exercising. But I feel like there's been a number of things that have been piling. And
yeah, so we'd capture that. You'd capture that before you met her. So what, you know, before that day. So the way we would work is that if you had it set up, first thing in the morning, they wake up and you just go, bang, there's a major alert notified you, and you go, wow, my client's not good. And then you slip in with a text message, go, okay, we're seeing each other today. You've got your program, whatever you were doing with her. Yeah. Let's meet, have a coffee, have a chat, and then go for a walk. And then if it's outside your lane, like you're going, wow, this is too hard, then you have a network where you go, you know what, maybe you need to go and chat to that person. But a lot of the time, that's why personal training is so wonderful, is because they just need to chat. So you might have had a whole session worked out for her that she can't do, where really maybe what she needed to do was have a coffee, and you just take her for a walk and blow off the, you know, that's where we've got to think holistic human performance rather than God. But I understand your situation, but that takes it out of it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Craig, I just have not really a question, more of a statement, but I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it. One problem or struggle that I always kind of find with people is them wanting to invest in their health. And, you know, people come to you and say they've got all these problems and they need your help. And then you say how much it's going to be. And they always say, oh, no, I can't afford it. So it's like, it's always going to be a barrier, I feel. Don't realize.
Absolutely, it is. And I don't know what you've got going in respect to, you know, how you combat that at get going, you know, like and it is. I mean, that nearly gets into a sales sort of situation where when you take them through the processes and then they start coming up with these objections, you know, and the objection is financial. The fact is, people need to pay for things because then they're more invested. Okay. And it's a difficult one. Like I mean, I could chat about that, how to work on that, but the thing is, I think you need to go back to the fact about, okay, when someone says that to you, you go, well, hang on, how important is this for you? You've told me over here that you want to get better with your health, that you're not happy. And then sometimes I've found it's good about like putting it into, like, I don't know what the fees are, but then you put it into context. You go, okay, look, this is this much, but how important is this, you know, compared to, you know, your 100 cups of coffee that you're buying at $5 a, you know, a pop, or whatever it is, or other money that you might be spending. Yeah, it's really like, I just get quite honest with people. Like, if you're, you know, we know from research, anything that's free, like if people come and join an exercise program or something like that and it's free, they're not going to do it because there's no of them in it. There's no skin in the game as such, you know. So that's really important. It is frustrating though, eh? Yeah
Definitely.
Is that normally the biggest objection?
Quite often, yeah. That or time. I don't have time to work out.
Time. Yeah, and then that's how we come in with our flexibility and agility in our training. You know, and that's how we go, okay, well, we don't need this much time, but you know, this is how we can do it. So yeah, but people, we just keep needing to sell the beauty of exercise and how much better they'll feel. And that might be an organizational thing. Once people get into that feeling of exercise, and they won't and you do it the right way, the exercise will sell itself.
Hard to get them over the line sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I remember, because I used to, back in 1990, I still remember sell gym memberships, you know, like when they come in and you'd have to take them through like sales. And I still remember that the objection was always money, but yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Do we have any last questions for Craig?
Hi.
Hi, Abby. How are you?
Good. So I would say I'm pretty, like, I check in with my clients quite a lot. But I guess a type of client that I guess I would assume most of us could relate to is that there's a lot of clients that you know need a lot of help, and probably like they're not in an actual healthy, like, physical state and stuff like that. And, you know, but they kind of are just happy of seeing you as like a comfort or like a daily movement and stuff, but they're not really like on top of their food. They're, you know, they're just kind of going through life. Like, you know, they might tell you about their weekend. You might see some, you know, negative activity and stuff, and you might have like some comments and advice here and there. But I guess, what type of approach would you think you'd go through to, like, obviously they're not asking, like, they're not coming to you saying like, you know, they're unhappy and stuff like that. But when you know from like a physical health like aspect that they probably, you know, might need to like do a bit more just to actually help their health in general, or even if they're going through like a bad mental health period, and you know that, you know, if they added like a 15-minute walk out of the day to step away from the computer and stuff, that would actually help their mentality a lot more. How do you think, like, have you got any tips on the best way to go about that?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a lot about my, you know, the self-science philosophy is starting to get people, like, I think one of the biggest issues in our world is people don't reflect, and that we've lost that self-awareness because we get so busy, or we think we're busy. So implementing some things where people actually sit down and take, 5 to 10 minutes. Like, I'm quite big on morning routines, getting up, making my bed, coming downstairs, sitting in my chair and writing in my journal. That might be hard, but the best thing is you've built the relationship. Keep working on that relationship, that they're telling you these things. I think that's really positive. And then you can slip things in. Like, instead of a 15-minute walk, just tell them, okay, just get up from your desk and walk around the office, then come back. That could be the thing. Always go for the lowest common denominator. The food one's interesting as well. So you might think, you just hear them having these, terrible food days. And it might be just saying, okay, well, look, if you're going to go to McDonald's, that's fine. Okay, but maybe don't have that thick shake as well, just little things. So don't change them. So you're on their side, but you do have the obligation to make a difference. You know what I mean? Like, we are trying to make a positive difference, but people, I always go by that idea that, people don't care how much they only want to know how much you care. And so when you've built that relationship, then you've got much more opportunity to speak to them. But the other thing with people is, I found out, is most people don't like to be told. It normally has to come from them. So it's about weaving that in so they can go, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to try and do. But there are some things also, like challenges, having challenges with your clients, leaderboards and things like that. You might have we're having this week a no 10 days or 5 days of no takeaway food. Doesn't matter what you eat. Sometimes those things work really well as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
But I'm not, can I tell you, I'm not saying any of this is easy, because humans are funny. And that's why we keep getting back to the fact is that for some reason, humans think they're going to live forever. But yeah, they don't want to do the right thing. So we're all a bit like that. So I think being empathetic, and you've got a nice personality, I can see, and that helping them, that's the first part, and then just progressing from there. Always keep in your mind, okay, what can I slip in to advance their health here?
Yeah, into my, because I send my clients an optional weekly check-in, and then a mental wellness check-in, depending on how they feel.
Sure.
And a question I've added into, I think, the mindset check-in is, what is something that you want to change but you're not ready to change? And nice. I probably think that most weeks there's at least one or two clients who've put in I want to change my job but I'm not ready to, or I want to quit smoking but I can't because I'm too stressed. And it's one of those things where, okay, they're making it aware to you and they're creating the awareness to themselves, but it's it's not in their goals yet, but it's hopefully when they put in their goals maybe for the week, it might creep up to be I'm looking for a different job, I want to quit smoking and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's in that they're contemplating it, but they just haven't put it down into that process yet. That's good. You just keep working with them. And that's why, I actually prefer, why I'm into human performance coaching rather than, the old personal training, because I'm thinking you're more of a coach. You're actually coaching them and nudging them in different ways. And exercise is our means, because that's our relationship, but we're nudging them in other ways just to get them to be better in themselves. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Any last minute questions? Oh, good. Amazing. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Craig Duncan. I think your philosophy definitely aligns with our mantra and what we work towards as a company. So I think today's talk will be really useful to everyone here. So thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for having me, and please contact me anytime if you want to have a chat or any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for joining. I'll post the recording on Workplace later today. Awesome.
Thanks,
all right,
everyone.
have a great week, everyone. See you all later.
Thanks. Bye.